I kind of wish they didn't start with what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum as the first episode. I don't think it was the strongest episode to start on. I mean, it was enjoyable, but I don't know. Maybe their thing was to set the bar a bit low so that we can only go up from here. Also, I just might be looking forward to the Marvel Zombie episode. I don't know. Let's talk about episode 1 of What If. So this What If series is directly inspired by What If Marvel Comics. There's a bunch of them out there. It does have the Watcher watching all these alternate dimensions, these alternate Earths, and some of the stories get pretty dark, like what if the X-Men all just got brutally slaughtered on their first mission, but there's cooler ones like, well, happier ones, I guess, like what if Spider-Man saved Gwen Stacy. So if you like this What If animated series, there are definitely a ton of What If comics you can get into, and I think quite a bit of them are online if you want to read them. Some are better than others, obviously, so don't feel like everyone's gonna be a slam dunk. Oh, I love this story. Jeffrey Wright plays the Watcher, which is a group of really old beings that watch and gather knowledge. I mean, they're so old, they're older than most things in the entire known universe. And they're not supposed to interfere, but when they do, from time to time, generally bad things happen, even if they're trying to be helpful. And we know that the Watcher from this What If series that we are listening to narrate is going to somehow get involved. I'd imagine this is set after the Loki series, where we have all the splits of timelines in different universes, the multiverse, but until they give us direct confirmation, I don't know. I'm not assuming any of this is canon. I mean, but it could be if this is after Loki and then we're just seeing all these alternate Earths, alternate timelines that weren't pruned. I think Jeffrey Wright being the voice of the Watcher was a good pick. The actor has a good voice that's knowledgeable, but also kind of scientifically detached, and I think that's what you need for voicing one of the Watchers, so I think he's doing a great job. I think it was a great idea to get Jeffrey Wright to do the voice, and I'm really interested to see him get a little bit more piqued his interest in what exactly pushes him to getting involved. So voice acting and their pick for the Watcher, amazing. So anyways, in this alternate reality Earth, in this different timeline, and this different reality universe, this Earth's in a vast multiverse, Peggy ends up getting the super soldier serum and she becomes the new Captain America, or Captain Carter, and she gets a sexy British version of the costume, which I just loved. And I just want to say right off the bat, Peggy as Captain Carter, I keep wanting to say Captain America, with the super soldier serum, she was brutal as fuck. Like, she was straight up murdering people with the shield, and she seemed to be enjoying it. I don't ever remember Steve, like, going with that much rage, that much enjoyment, that much brutality. I don't know if it's a good thing, but it definitely, I was watching her use the shield and use her super soldier abilities, and I was like, wow, Peggy, we might want to dial this back a few notches. I'm getting major Lady D vibes from her after she transformed, and I have to believe that people are going to thirst over her on the internet, and we already have some artwork of her larger, well-proportioned body. I was trying to say that in a very polite way. I love that they kept Peggy being in love with Steve before he transformed. Obviously, he's not transformed at all in this episode, because we know from the main MCU timeline, she kept a photo of skinny Steve, not Steve after he transformed. She was in love with him before he became a total beefcake. So the fact that they stayed consistent with that she just was absolutely in love with him despite him being a scrawny little guy, come on, that's beautiful. So yeah, their relationship was plain adorable. I am a little disappointed that they got the actress that does the live action version of Peggy Carter to do her voice, but they couldn't get Chris Evans to do Steve Rogers. Though you may not even notice that, because the gentleman they got to voice Steve did a really great job. I still knew it wasn't Chris Evans, but, you know, what are you gonna do? Disney, I know you could have paid him enough money, so I really want to know what your excuse is. If you're wondering, Red Skull's voice was the guy that took over for Hugo Weaving in Infinity War, so Hugo, he didn't want to come back and be the Red Skull, so he ended up taking over. Well, he actually did the voice for the Red Skull in this episode. Besides that, we actually got quite a few people to come back and voice their animated version. Samuel L. Jackson as Fury, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, so I think that was pretty cool, and kudos to the people that were able to do the voice acting for their animated characters. Steve in the prototype Iron Man costume was so cool. I love that Tony Stark's father made a very simple version of what he would go on to do. And honestly, I could have dealt with more Steve in the suit just going around just beating the shit out of Nazis. I thought it was excellent. I especially loved when Peggy and Steve teamed up and she would jump on his back and then they would go. The extended music battle sequences where they're just beating up people left and right, well, and you know, straight murdering them too, but it's war. I thought that was the best part of the episode. Oh, and the Cthulhu monster in the episode was amazing. And if you're interested, it's Hive, or 𝐷𝐸𝑚𝑎 he's in the comics. And in case you don't know him, here's just a fun quote by him to get you excited. Before all was, I was. Before time was, I waited. I fed on the screaming souls of the universes. I drank the spoiled milk of dead stars. I am the emptiness outside all understanding. I am 𝐷𝐸𝑚𝑎. So he's an ancient eldritch being that just loves to munch on people, and even if you worship him and summon him, he'll still kill you. So he's a pretty intense guy. I'm surprised they survived that encounter. I think definitely there was a missed opportunity with making Steve the Winter Soldier after the train blew up. They could have gone that route. By the way, Bucky's line, you could have taken off my arm. Da 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 da. I mean, I was happy for him to take out Cthulhu in the end. That was great. I loved their teamwork. But at the same time, I would have loved a storyline of Peggy coming back. Oh my gosh, Steve's now the Winter Soldier. This is the man I love. I have to help him. He's brainwashed. Missed opportunity. I just think it's a missed opportunity, okay? So while I enjoyed the episode, I don't think it was great. I guess I'll have to see the other What If episodes to kind of rank and compare. The only thing I was worried about with watching this was there is a certain section of people, perhaps they're called incels, that I feel like are gonna get riled up about all the mentions of sexism and women being put down. I don't know what it is. Like with Agent Carter, when they had the same thing, they just freaked the fuck out. And it's like, guys, it's historically correct. They're not coming at you. You're not a 1940s dude. It's just, it was society then. Come on, why are you freaking out? So if you see anyone getting their panties in a twist because of how much women can't be soldiers was said this episode, just inform them that that was the mindset in our world during that time. The Soviet Union was actually the most progressive in letting women fight, but both Britain and Germany did not want women fighting, and even when they had roles such as posts on anti-aircraft guns, they could spot, aim, handle ammunition, but they were barred from pulling the trigger. A man had to do it. They did not want women trained using weapons. The United States actually was the most resistant to sending women into war, though we certainly saw thousands of them ending up doing so. So if you see anyone freaking out about that part of the episode, tell them to calm down. Don't get triggered. It's not a personal attack, incels. It's just history. We can't change history because you have delicate little fifis. And trust me, I'm the first one when they shoe in girl power to be like, no, stop. This is terrible. I know what you're doing. This was just historically correct. Goddamn, I don't know what to do with incels. So some bad stuff. I think the pacing was definitely off in this episode. I don't think they had quite the right pacing for it. I still enjoyed it, but definitely they could have slowed it down, maybe made it a longer episode. I don't think all the voice acting was top tier. I think perhaps Bucky's actor might need some lessons. I didn't like how quippy he was, by the way. So there definitely were flaws in this episode, and it wasn't a top tier sort of what I expect from Marvel. If you want to shit on this episode, definitely, I think you could say, hey, the pacing was off, some of the voice acting just wasn't good, Bucky was too quippy, Steve and Peggy didn't fuck. I mean, there's a lot of reasonable things you could complain about this episode, and I would 100% agree with you. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, the pacing, some of the voice acting, just not great. They should have tweaked it maybe a bit more. The animation, though, was gorgeous. The fight scenes, all those sequences, I thought fantastic. The art, loved it. But despite that, just because of how they handled it, I would only give it a 5 out of 10 as of now, and it might actually go lower depending on how the other What If episodes go. Now, episode 2, What If T'Challa Became Star-Lord, was perhaps the cutest thing I've ever seen. I love how everyone just fucking loved him and knew who he was. He even got Thanos to give up on the whole genocide thing and join up with him. And man, Nebula was looking hot. I mean, she's always hot, but Nebula with hair is a different kind of hot. This episode was basically, let's show how shitty of a Star-Lord Peter Quill actually is in the Sacred Timeline. Everything Peter wanted as Star-Lord, Cha-Cha seemed to achieve with utter ease. Though I guess when you grow up as a prince and you're instilled with certain beliefs and values, you might be a bit more humanitarian than a random kid that was abducted after his mom dies and his dad was nowhere to be found. I'm not saying if you don't have a dad around, it means you're not gonna do good things. Don't come at me. Speaking of which, does this episode imply that because T'Challa becomes Star-Lord and Peter Quill is left without his experiences and friends, that Ego is going to successfully recruit him and basically this timeline gets jacked up? Does T'Challa becoming Star-Lord, even if he's an amazing one, equal the universe is doomed in this reality? In general, despite T'Challa making a lot of characters better versions of themselves, this could be a much darker timeline, because if we're going by the collector's collection, I don't think Thor, Captain America, or a lot of Avengers are even around in this timeline, and they're actually dead. Which I guess the Avengers not being together makes sense, because if Thanos isn't wheeling and dealing behind the scenes before just doing it himself, we wouldn't have the Avengers come together most likely. But given the collection, it seems like a lot of them are dead. I loved that with Thanos being converted to good, even though he's still convinced his plan wasn't genocide because it's random. It's not genocide if he kills random people. We get to see Drax's family live, which was just so adorable, although I just don't really see him being a bartender. I still imagine him going around killing people. Also, Yondu was a much better father and had T'Challa's back more than he ever had with Quill's. Not to say that Yondu wasn't a good daddy to Peter, but he got reformed a lot quicker with T'Challa as an adopted son. Korath, knowing who Star-Lord is, was definitely the highlight of this episode, and I adored him. By the way, if you're disappointed that Chadwick's last episode is this one, don't be. He does come back to voice T'Challa a few more times this season, which is both amazing and heartbreaking to remember he's no longer with us. However, making him a BAMF Star-Lord is a nice way of honoring him, I think. And here's what I was saying about I'll judge the first episode off of the future ones, because this episode was just pure fun. I was disappointed when it ended. If this is the quality of the rest of the episodes, the first episode is going to go way down in ratings. And I'm sure some people are upset that the episode was basically nonstop fan service, but fuck it. I'll take some silly fan service in a What If animated episode gladly. So yeah, fantastic episode, but you can let me know how you rank this episode, especially compared to the first one. Did you like the first episode more than this one, and are you excited for future What If episodes? So yeah, like, subscribe, let me know what you thought about this episode, and let me know if you are down to fuck Shumagorath. Because I am. Just destroy me. More than I'm already destroyed.